Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is: Are the Nets and Clippers a potential finals matchup? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be on the lookout for our Dreamerspro community, which is launching on February 1st. So be on the lookout for that. Anyway, let me get into the topic here. So going into this season, the Nets were one of the, let's say, favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. We all knew this. We had the Milwaukee Bucks. Some people had the Miami Heat, although they've grossly underperformed so far this season. Some people had the Philadelphia 76ers, and then a few other people had some other teams like maybe the Indiana Pacers and others. But definitely the Brooklyn Nets are one of the teams that people were looking at to come out of the Eastern Conference just because of the potential star power of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, right? The big question mark, though, was around Kevin Durant's health, because given the fact that we hadn't seen him play basketball for over a year, the last time we did see him was in the NBA Finals when he ruptured his Achilles tendon against the Toronto Raptors when he was playing with the Golden State Warriors. So there were a lot of question marks around Kevin Durant's health, right? So going into this season, a lot of people were very anxious to see how he would perform coming back, for not playing so long. Would there be rust? Would he have lost some of his athleticism and explosion? And so these were the major questions going into the season. But, watching him start off the season, I had some questions myself, but after seeing him play some games, and seeing the numbers he's been putting up this season, I think all of those questions have been put to rest. Like, Kevin Durant is back. For the season, he's averaging 30.5 points per game, getting you 7.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists. Now, if you go into the numbers deeper and you look at his efficiency, that's what's remarkable. He's shooting 51% from the field. Kevin Durant is always efficient, right? He's taking 20 shots and scoring 30 points per game just on 20 shots. He's shooting 44.5% from the three. Think about it. He's shooting 86% from the free throw line. And he's getting you close to 1 steal a game, 0.7 steals per game, and 1.5 blocks per game. So Kevin Durant is back, and he's back to his old self, and he's performing like he usually does, and he's making it look effortless out there, guys. He's making it look effortless. Now, one of the questions that we had was, apart from his health, was how is he going to play with Kyrie Irving? And early in some of the games in the season, it looked like Kyrie was more concerned about his numbers than the overall team success. I saw them play some games, especially a game that they had against Atlanta Hawks when KD was rolling. And Kyrie, I think, going into that fourth quarter, might have had something like 12 or 13 points, and he just took it upon himself to get his points. Kyrie just kept on shooting and shooting and shooting, and for like a long stretch of that game, KD didn't even touch the ball. Excuse me. Then at one point towards the end of the game, KD just went for the ball and just try to kind of forced up a shot. He's like, man, let me get a look, right? And a lot of us kind of walked away from that game asking the question, like, wait a minute, does Kyrie Irving understand that he's playing with Kevin Durant? Now, we all know Kyrie is a sensational scorer, sensational player, but KD is better. Like, as good as Kyrie is, Kevin Durant is better. If you look at Kyrie, he's averaging 27.5 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 5.8 assists. And yes, he's a very efficient shooter. He can score pretty easily from the floor. He's shooting 52% from the field, 42% from the three-point line, 94% from the field. So he's having a 50-40-90 season and getting you 1 steal per game. But KD's doing that, but KD is much more efficient. So, what are we really talking about here? So there were some questions about that. Then all of a sudden, Kyrie Irving went AWOL. Stopped showing up to work. Texted some of his teammates that he's not coming to work. Then text the management of the Brooklyn Nets that he won't be showing up to games. Steve Nash, the head coach, was unaware of it, and there were so many questions around Kyrie of whether or not he was going to play basketball again. Then they went out there and got James Harden, who some consider to be an insurance policy, like Stephen A. Smith and Charles Barkley said, hey, listen, we think that the Nets are going to go, they went and got this guy because they didn't know what Kyrie was going to be doing. And given the fact that James Harden was disgruntled already being with the Houston Rockets, who he had been with, I think, for the past 6 seasons, he just didn't want to be there anymore. So they went and got him, which kind of shocked the entire league, right? That's when the storyline sort of shifted. To now the Brooklyn Nets potentially being one of the teams that can come out of the Eastern Conference to now being one of the teams that can win the NBA title. It just changed overnight. So they got James Harden, and given the fact that Kyrie was out, it was more, we just saw how we got a chance to see how James Harden and Kevin Durant were playing on the court. and they were playing. They were playing. It seemed like their games kind of worked out because James Harden was the point guard of the team, and I think he had more ball handling responsibilities, and Kevin Durant was just like the scorer, which he could do at a pretty good level. But in them making that trade, they lost their defense, right? And Jared Allen and others, and with the loss of Spencer Dinwiddie, like there were a lot of question marks around this team. And they got off to a pretty decent start, but then they started losing games when Kyrie came back, and they dropped 2 games to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And one of the questions I had, and many others had, was their defense. A lot of us questioned whether or not this team could play defense, and thus far, they really haven't been such a great defensive team, right? Now, they can score with the best of them. They're averaging 121 points per game, right? They are a sensational team on offense, but the problem is they're giving up 116. First of all, the differential is too low. They're only beating teams on an average of 4 points per game, which means that a lot of those games they won, they could have lost, right? Because these are close games that are decided by 1 or 2 possessions. These are close games, but the fact that they're giving up so many points per game is not really good. Now, they're the number 1 team in the NBA in field goal percentage because they have a lot of, great scorers on their team, and they can get up a lot of buckets. They get they get a decent amount of assists per game. They're in the top 5 in assists per game, and they're leading the league in scoring, but their defense is the issue. The defense is the major question mark that I'm having for them, which now, although they won their last 4 games in a row, which now brings me to the Los Angeles Clippers. Because, as y'all know, the Clippers are going to be playing the Brooklyn Nets on Tuesday. I think that's February 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, February 2nd or February 3rd. I'm not sure. And the Clippers, on the other hand, they've been red hot because they've won 9 out of their last 10 games. And currently, if I look at the Western Conference standings, the Clippers are the number 2 seed in the Western Conference behind the Utah Jazz. So the Clippers have been doing their thing. Had they not lost 2 of their stars, I think they would probably have won 10, 11 games in a row, right? Because they dropped 1 and won the other one. So they would have won 8, 9, and then 10. They'd have probably won 10, 11 games in a row by now had they not lost their 2 stars with the COVID protocol. So the Clippers have been red hot. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, all y'all are pretty much aware of at this point, are both having 50, 40, 90 seasons, the 2 of them, right? They're very efficient. They're having career years as far as efficiency, especially with Paul George. And I said that I believe both of them can make I believe both of them should make the All-Star team as starters. But some people have pointed out the fact that Paul George is being listed as a forward, and it's going to be really hard for him to make it there. Because, although he just exclusively plays the 2, but they're listing him as a forward. The Clippers, on the other hand, have improved their defense throughout the regular season. Early in the season, they were giving up close to 109 points per game. Now they're giving up 106. That number is going down. They've held their opponents closer to 100. 2 games ago, they held their opponent to 100. The last game they played against Orlando Magic, they held them to 90 points, and they're going to play against, I think they're going to be playing against the New York Knicks before they take on the Brooklyn Nets. So let's see how they're able to play defense on them. They're beating teams by a pretty decent differential. They're beating them about 7 to 8 points per game, which is better, which means they're beating teams pretty decisively. So the Clippers are playing great defense, right? Now, we get to see them play on Tuesday. And this could be a potential finals matchup because the Clippers have a very good chance to come out of the Western Conference for sure. They can beat the Lakers can come out of the West, but so can the Clippers. The Clippers can beat the Lakers. I don't think anyone believes that the Clippers cannot beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. I believe that they can, right? Will they do it? Remains to be seen. We don't know that. We don't have the answer to that question yet. But can they beat them? I absolutely believe they can. So the Clippers have a good chance to get out of the Western Conference, and the Brooklyn Nets have a good chance to get out of the Eastern Conference. And this could be a potential finals matchup. Now, they're playing on Tuesday, and we get to see what the matchup could possibly look like. Now, I don't think Tuesday's game decides anything because I still think these teams are still improving. I still think the Clippers are improving. They're still working on different things. And I think the Brooklyn Nets are still working on different things too. So I don't think like, okay, whatever outcome comes out of this game, like that's what it's going to be. No, I think these teams are still working on themselves. Maybe when they play each other again for the second time, because remember, teams in opposing conferences play each other twice, once there, once here. So maybe later on in the season when the teams have really gotten to their stride, then we can get a better sense of what this matchup would possibly look like. But for now, I think it's just a good kind of preview to see what if it could be a potential finals matchup. So that's what I think. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think that this could be a potential finals matchup, or do you think that, listen, either one of these teams are not coming out of their conferences, or do you think maybe one of them will come out and the other team won't? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Now, also, we're going to be doing another video talking about the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, about the Nets getting ready to take off. But that video is going to be one of our Dreamerspro originals, which is going to be on our platform, which you won't see on the channel. So if you guys want to check that video out, which will be coming out next week when we launch the platform, that will be on the platform. So you guys can definitely make sure you sign up to that and check that out when it comes out, because I think you guys are really going to enjoy that platform. But we're going to have some videos that will not be on the channel. That will be on the Dreamerspro Max, what we're calling it. So that will be there. Nevertheless, we're still producing the same amount of content on our channel every single day. So 2 to 3 videos. So the channel is not being affected in any single way. But if you guys want to get some of that premium content, you know where to check for that. Anyway, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Be sure to check out the next video that we have coming up. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.